Hi, Shabbat Tov, everybody. We just come into Motzei Shabbat, and Motzei Shabbat is an auspicious time to relate over stories with regards to great rabbis of yesteryear, and especially with regards to holy Baal Shem Tov. In fact, it's known as a segula for parnasa, for good abundance, wealth-wise in of itself. Now, some students one time, many years ago, would go to the Tzemach Tzedek, the great rabbi, and ask, is it true that relating stories over within regards to the great rabbis of yesteryear would bring a segula, a merit for great abundance wealth? So the Tzemach Tzedek would actually answer at that stage in time to this question. He was actually known as the third Lubavitcher Rebbe, just as an extra case. Now, the rabbi would actually reply that in general it is true. However, he added three corrections. Not necessarily does a story have to be at any time. Not only does it have to be about the Baal Shem Tov, rather any great rabbi, and we've had thousands of great rabbis plus in recent years. Not only is it a segula for parnasa, a merit for wealth, rather than for anything one might need. Now, of course, the great rabbi, the Tzemach Tzedek, was not discouraging the practice of telling stories about the famous Baal Shem Tov on Shabbat. Now, they made it a point to read several stories over. Someone did one time, every Motzei Shabbat, at the Sudaravi, at the fourth meal. And once there was a rabbi, I believe, that from Florida, that purchased a reprint of the original Shivchei Baal Shem Tov, which contains original amazing stories about the great rabbi. And the rabbi mentioned that it is rumored amongst great Talmudim, the Hasidim, that the author confirmed many of the stories with the famous Alter Rebbe. And he actually read several stories from this specific amazing book every Motzei Shabbat ever since. Now, since he, let's say, opened the new book from the very middle rather than start from the very beginning, on the first week he opened it, randomly, story number 192 came up. In short, this story about a person who owed someone money, which was unfortunately not repaid before his passing. The neshama, the soul, sadly ended up as a gilgul, we don't want to state this over, as a horse, which ended up being owned by the debtor to whom the money was owed. This horse was an amazing worker, although small and petite. It's outworked all the bigger and stronger horses in the stable. Now, one day, the famous Baal Shem Tov showed up at the man's house and asked to be shown around after seeing this horse in the stable. And hearing its praises from this owner, he asked to talk with him in his study. There, the Baal Shem Tov inquired about his business and financials. One thing led to another, and the man was showing the Baal Shem Tov, let's just say, all his IOUs. The Baal Shem Tov stopped at one with a rather large sum and asked the man, how come he's not collecting it? Now, the man explained that the Jewish person who owes him money had unfortunately died, and therefore the document isn't worth the paper that it's written on. Now, the Baal Shem Tov asked the man, since you will anyways never see your money, would you be willing to forgive the loan so that this soul can have peace in heaven? The man agreed wholeheartedly, and very soon the Baal Shem Tov, the great rabbi, was ready to continue his travels. When they entered the stable to harness the horses, the man let out a loud cry. The horse was lying dead on the stable floor, and the Baal Shem Tov turned to him and explained that this horse was a gilgul, a reincarnation of the person who owed you the money. One way or another, one must pay one's debts. He was sent down here to repay you, which explains why he was working so hard. Even so, the amount he owed would have taken years for him to fully repay. The Baal Shem Tov explained over here that the moment he forgave the loan, the neshama, this soul now free to go where it really belongs, was done with its suffering. Very interesting enough. So this is another famous story over here with regards to the famous Baal Shem Tov and the great rabbis. The story goes on where the actual author himself is who actually wrote this was Rabbi Avram Brashevsky, I think from Chabad of Florida. But it goes on and relates more. So wishing you a Shabbat Tov and take care and have a great day.